remember that your story starts now. If you think of life as a video game and you're the hero of this game, all the crap that you've gone through up until now, all the bad habits, all the bad things like your grandma said about you, all that stuff is just your backstory.
Welcome, everyone, to the Wired for Wealth show, where you get access to world-class leaders that offer proven solutions for your life and for your money. My goal for you is for you to think better so you can do better, so you can feel better about your future. I'm your host, John MacGregor, and we are absolutely blessed and honored to have Noah Scott. Noah Scott is an experienced creator. He's an author and an artist, and he's on a mission to bring purpose-driven people together and encourage humanity to live courageously in the moment, unshackled by self-doubt. You can just by that alone, you can see why we're blessed to have him. Noah's a world traveler, and he describes himself as sort of a nomadic entrepreneur, which is really what I want to talk to him about. Noah hosts retreats in exotic destinations around the world and produces content while he's traveling. And we're certainly going to learn more about that as well. And you do not want to miss his podcast, The Big Possible. The Big Possible features interviews with doers, dreamers, change makers discussing how to make life changing decisions and how to acquire the leverage. The key there is leverage to make a massive positive impact in the world. But Noah admits it wasn't all fun and games. He admits he was a complete delinquent in his earlier years. But then he had the big switch in his life, and I'm anxious to hear about that. I'm sure you will too. And then lastly, I'll say when he returned to the States, he founded a LA-based production company called LA Reels and quickly grew that to prominence with his team and partners. And the team self-funded and produced his directorial debut, a feature film called Scramble. As a visual artist, Noah has exhibited his artwork in galleries in Los Angeles, and he's sold through his collections all over. So with that being said, Noah, what a fascinating life you've lived so far. And you're still very, very young. What an adventure. And we are so blessed to have you. Welcome.
Oh, the honor is all mine. And John, bro, I always will have a seat on whatever plane I'm going on, spot in my suitcase for you to just come and hype me up like that. That is like the coolest hype ever, bro. It's really fantastic. So thanks for letting me be here.
Oh my gosh, I was stoked to have you. I couldn't wait. So We got a lot to cover, and you got a lot to share, and a lot of value added that you can provide the viewers that I think is going to be awesome. The first and most important question is, where are you now?
Yeah, that's a good question. So right now I'm just a little bit south of a town called Palomino in Colombia, so on the Caribbean coast, and I'm soaking up the sun. This is my first actually day at the beach in a while, so I cleared my calendar. The only thing I have is just this conversation with you, and I am so fired up. I was really looking forward to this, so I'm just grateful to have that time with you. So you might hear a little bit of background noise as people are checking into the hotel here. Maybe there's a distant mariachi band playing, but for the most part, it's all part of the experience.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. You're making me jealous. It's like 45 degrees here, and I'm craving the beach right now. So enjoy. I know you've deserved it. So let's get into it. I've got a bunch of questions to ask you, Noah. So I think the first thing I want to start is sort of high level, if you will. What do you think defines a life well lived?
Oh, this is, I mean, if you could, the biggest question of all, right? Like, ultimately, there's two things. Like, so I always love to refer to the quote from Marcus Aurelius. I'm a big geek in reading some philosophy stuff, especially the Stoics. I love the Stoics. And there's a line that he says where true success is having a good character and doing good deeds. And the simplicity of that really makes you feel good about the direction that you're going in life. It's like, okay, if I can just simplify it down, I don't need to add all this stuff to life. As long as I'm doing great things and I have the good character to say, am I really living to the fullest? And if you could just ask yourself that question every day you wake up, are the things on my calendar actually contributing to those two very fundamental questions? You're going to feel extremely fulfilled every single day of your life. And then when you stack all those days up at the end of it, you're going to be just floating on cloud nine. The other thing, so not to go off on a tangent, but the other thing I've tried to break this down. And for me personally, outside of this quote from Marcus Aurelius, what I found really helps to identify whether or not I'm living life to the fullest, or living a good big life. I like to say that there's three components or three pillars. One of those being adventure. For me, that is paramount to getting out and discovering what's out there in the world, asking better questions, figuring out whether or not the things that I'm doing are actually contributing to life, and just having that sense of curiosity. The other is really around this concept of leverage, and I think this is something that we talked about on the interview with you on the show. That if you're living a good, bold life, if you're doing great things with yourself, that's fantastic. But the second you start to multiply your time and your energy through leverage, whether that's acquiring more knowledge, whether that's acquiring a bigger community, or creating media like we're doing that people can learn and grow and experience your message while you're sleeping, or creating enterprise so that while you're sleeping, you're making money, and then you're able to have a bigger impact. So those two combined with this concept of service, right? Like, how do I contribute to other people's benefit? And this is that part about doing good deeds. So for me, that's really what I feel is that essence of what makes a life well lived. So you tie in the adventure, you're kind of pushing on the frontier of what you know, you're giving back. Let me create some business. Let me create some form of community. That way I can go beyond just me in the world.
That's just brilliant. It gives me goosebumps to hear you say that. You're in Colombia. I'm in this small town in Northern California. Here we are connecting. We're sharing knowledge with the world. I mean, it's amazing the impact that just two of us can have on so many people, changing lives. I just love it. The idea of adventure just really hit home, because I've been fortunate enough to travel around the world several times at a very young age. And I'll tell you, there's no greater education than adventure or travel. That literally has changed my life. And I'm so blessed that I took that gamble, that I took that risk and got on that plane, really not knowing where I was going to go for the next 3 to 4 months. And, I look back on those experiences as real game changers in my life. So I love the fact that you're saying that. And then the other thing that came to mind, thinking about your daily life and pushing yourself forward, I talk about the financial side of it is, the decisions you make with your money, or the decisions you make with your time, the people you spend, where you go, what you watch, how you live your life. The question you need to constantly ask yourself is this decision, or is this activity, or is this expenditure pushing me closer to my vision, or is it pulling me further away? Mm-hmm. And the more people that can continually ask themselves that as they go about their day, the more likely they're going to start subconsciously rewiring their brain so that they're only making decisions that are in direct correlation with their vision and their mission. So I love that. That's perfect. Really well said. So going back to you, Noah, I want to get behind the motivation of the Big Possible, the project, The Big Possible. Tell us all about it. What are you doing?
Oof, yeah. So I've been experimenting for the last, honestly, it's been a decade. It's been a decade of waking up at the end of my 20s and realizing that it's time to make a change. It's time to do something cool with my life. And so to start this story, we're going to go back to the beginning. We're going to go back to the time when I was waking up from this delinquent dream from my 20s. So let's just say there was an entire 20s of motorcycles, parties, and just hanging out at nightclubs, trying to be a model and trying to hang out with cool people that were just really just up late doing no good. Woke up one day and I realized, okay, my bank account is completely empty. I'm not going anywhere. I burned all my relationships with my friends, and I'm just kind of sitting in this little 1-bedroom studio with no light. What am I doing with my life? Yeah. And I was bartending at the time, and I would just blow all my money on after work I'd go get some more drinks, and it was pretty empty. And so what I did is I just was sitting there thinking about, I had a Japanese major in school, and as I'm flipping through like one of my textbooks, I was looking at some pictures of an artist named Hiroshige, and he painted a series of 53 paintings of this road called the Tokaido. And that's kind of like our Route 66 or the Camino de Santiago in Spain.
Yeah.
It's like a pilgrimage road. And so I said, okay, I'm just gonna go walk that path and see if I can find my reason to live and kind of clear my head a little bit. So I went out there. Right before I left, I got a motorcycle accident, threw all my money in medical bills, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go anyway. So I just went and landed in Japan. I think I had like $15 in my pocket until some checks came in, but I just did it anyway. I was completely naive, and it was tough. I'd run out of money. Then I found a job working in a sake factory. Ran out of money again. I found a spot that were like, all right, come teach English. You know, we'll put you up for a little bit. Found another spot in a cherry blossom farm where I was working, and just there were people that would just show up and help me out along the way. And that sense of community really was the driving factor in me realizing that I can keep going. No matter how bad things get, no matter how tough things get, if someone's going to show up and help you and kind of and be there for you, if you're true to your purpose, you're staying with it, there's always going to be a door that's going to open, and you just can't give up. You have to keep going. And I remember there was a moment when I was outside of a town called Numazu, and the ocean's crashing on the right. It's like cold Sea of Japan, and then on the left I've got this freeway and the tsunami breakers on the left. And you know, I just have my feet going one step in front of the other, one step in front of the other. And this is, you know, 3 months of this. I've been walking for 3 months, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. My purpose in life is to bring people together. Just like everyone's been coming together for me, I want to create a space that I can have all the friends that I meet from around the world have a safe spot where they can come together, share stories, forget the trials of life, and actually just live for a little bit, have the perspective to see things from a place of peace, have that opportunity to ask big questions about why they're living, and not get so lost in the day-to-day that they forget to ask those questions. Now, it took me 10 years to find the courage to create that. I've had that as this carrot dangling on a stick in front of me for the last 10 years as I tried to build enough leverage in my life to feel that I was ready. And I think it was a conversation I was having with my coach recently, where we're trying to build this thing, and we really just said, why are you serving penance? Why don't you just forget the baby steps and do the thing that you have been wanting to do your entire life? And that was when I just found the courage. Wait a second, I don't need to have a hotel. I can just host retreats and do exactly what I've been dreaming of for the last 10 years. And so that's kind of how that dream came to fruition. You know, and ultimately it's just the culmination of what we call vibrating the universe into submission is my favorite phrase for this. You just put a vision out there and you just keep seeing it. You keep seeing it. And eventually the universe starts to respond. And before you know it, it's happening. Not to make that any woo or anything, but that's kind of the idea. Once you're clear on what you want to be building and you start saying, this is what I'm doing, eventually everything starts manifesting, everything starts to happen. The conversations you have lead to it. And before you know it, you're creating it.
That is just absolutely tremendous. There's so much there that we can dive into, Noah. The first question that just came into my mind is that you were living that fun life, the party life, or whatever, bartending, you know, living the dream, right? As some people think it is. But you were able to shift out of that mindset. You're able to shift out of that mode. Now, a lot of people aren't partying or they're not in bars or what have you, but they're living their own life kind of like that. They're just sort of winging it, you know. They may have a job and they may just be surviving, right? And in a sense, it's sort of the same. You had that aha moment that, oh my gosh, what I'm doing now will never get me what I want in the future. What was that moment where you said, look, I've had enough. I am, this is not going to work anymore. Because like I said, a lot of people are struggling in that mindset. They're stuck on that treadmill, and they never take that next step, as you did, the 3-month step, to really figure out who they want to be in the world. So can you kind of take a deeper dive on that, Noah? What was it, and what motivated
Yeah.
you, and how can others take that step? You know what I mean?
Often to find that aha moment, we often need to find a place of loss. We need to be able to have the courage to let go of the thing that isn't right for us. And sometimes that isn't really our choice. In my case, it was a breakup. In fact, I've had so many of these breakups that have been like, after the breakup, I'm like, no, I'm gonna do better. I'm gonna become stronger.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think it's really powerful. It's a catalyst to a certain degree. When you have somebody who you sort of put on a pedestal to a certain degree, and you kind of depend on them for some validation, and then that person leaves your life, it's a wake up call. And that
Yeah.
that can be a major catalyst if you respond to the call, which a lot of people will choose the other path of numbing that sensation and say, okay, rather than face the call to now replace that external validation with internal validation. And what happens, the escapism kicks in, and gluttony, right? So you sort of you turn to quick fixes rather than addressing the deeper issue, which is actually just saying, I'm cool, I'm good, I'm happy. And we have the power to really be content with our own lives if we choose to, and not need all the external validation. So for me, it was losing a girlfriend for me to wake up and realize that, uh-oh, I gotta fix something, otherwise I'm not going to be able to hold on to anything. And funny enough, there's been several of these moments where the romantic partner splits, and I'm like, all right, now let me go fix my life. And I'm really grateful for those experiences, because the loss really lights a fire. And I've talked to some other people who have lost very close family members, for example, and a similar thing happens. We remember how short our life is. We remember how limited our time is here. And it goes back to what we are talking about earlier. Then you can start to ask the questions of, is this bottle of booze or this 20 minutes on social media, is this helping me live a more fulfilled life? Or is there something else that I can be doing? Can I surrender this? Can I let go of this and find something that has more meaning for me?
That's excellent, Noah. So let me interject on that. So if someone's watching this right now and kind of going through life in a mediocre fashion, they want more, right? They're surviving, they're not thriving, as so many people are. And I talk about this a lot. 78% of people are living paycheck to paycheck, right? And that's causing an enormous amount of strain in their life and their physical health and their relationships and their career. What would you recommend to someone who's just sort of in the doldrums right now of life? And is it self-reflection? Do they need to hit rock bottom? Do they need this catalyst, or is there a way to just jumpstart their life right now?
Absolutely. Not necessary to have a catalyst. It helps. Like sometimes if you just hit the point and you just say enough is enough internally,
Yeah.
that can be enough motivation. The biggest thing that I found out of everything in life, if we say, okay, like that catalyst that is absolutely going to work no matter what, find a coach, find someone who's going to support you. The mentors, a community of healthy, growth-minded people, they're out there. And all you have to do is ask. And sometimes people get in the mode of self-sabotage in terms of guessing versus asking. And this is something I've been guilty of for so many years, where rather than ask for help, I'll come up with some stories in my head that says, oh, like I'm not good enough. I'm not ready to ask for help. This person's, too successful. And I'll throw it out there. If anybody's just like at a point where they're like, all right, I'm not sure what's going on, like I'll jump on the phone with you for 20 minutes or something, and let's chat, let's hash it out. But
Cool.
it's about like finding that support group. And from there, if you start to ask really powerful questions, you get a professional on your team who knows how to pull that drive out of you, then that's the first step, right? Find a support group. The next step is it's time to look at your choices and your habits. From there, I mean, you can really take stock in your day to day and where you're spending your time. There's a thing that Sam Ovens showed me, which is called like the I'm forgetting the name of it, but he basically had a task hierarchy chart. And so what you can do is you can just look at all the things you do in your life and assign a dollar value to that. And you can say like, all right, if I'm going out to drink, for example, that's a negative impact because, okay, I'm going to A, spend money on the alcohol, B, the time that I'm doing, I'm not investing that time, I'm not making money. And then C, I'm going to get hungover. And so I'm going to perform poorly, get bad sleep. And so you kind of look at that as like, all right, that's a negative cost. Whereas something like, okay, recording a podcast or starting a business, starting a side hustle, even if it's an hour a day, that hour is worth, it's a positive. So it's like, think about your actions, which actions are contributing to, building something additive, and then think of which actions are actually contributing to a negative experience.
That's tremendous advice. I love that idea. Unfortunately, we're having a little video issue, but fortunately your voice is coming through perfect. So we're fine. I hope everyone stays with us. I talk a lot about mentorship with my students and how it's so important. And you look at the most successful people in the world, they all have coaches, right? They're not doing it on their own. Some of the greatest athletes in the world have multiple coaches, and business executives and yourself and myself. Pushback I get often is, well, I don't know anybody. I don't have anyone in my community. My parents are separate, whatever. I don't have the pastor or the coach. I never played sports. So, who do I turn to? How do I turn to someone? Someone like Noah's not going to accept my email. He's too busy. He's got all this other stuff or, that kind of stuff. How do you counter that to people that are just saying, I can't find a mentor?
Yeah. It's honestly about it's a numbers game. At the end of the day, it's all a freaking numbers game, and let data prove you wrong. Don't let your gut or your guesswork prove you wrong. Put out there until you actually send, and this is something I write about in my book, is literally don't get in your own way of results, which is what happened. If you start to guess and you start to predict that people are going to reject you, you're never going to get anywhere. But if you start sending text messages, just DMs on Instagram, with Twitter, with Instagram, you can contact anyone. Everyone is reachable. And there's no excuse. Sure, you don't necessarily have to go and hit the big shots at the beginning. You can start with somebody that's like, all right, maybe 10, 20,000 followers and is doing some life coaching. And then you can level up from there. And if you don't have money, there are other alternatives out there. You can try these, like there's the group coaching programs. There's so much that you can get, but until you actually just send 25, 30 messages, don't sell yourself short. Don't give up. And all you have to literally do is do that consistently day in, day out, and break it down and say, okay, if I want to get a response from somebody and I want to get some help, or I want to find a tribe, right? How many messages do I need to send every day? Let's say I send 20 messages and I get one response. Then if my goal is I want to have 10 people, you just do the math. How many days do I have to do this? And until you actually run out of people to contact, which is never going to happen because look at how big the world is. Yeah. Don't stop.
It's so perfect. It just reminds me of myself. I mean, there's rarely a book that I don't read where I reach out to the author. And the author doesn't know who I am, but I want to pick their brain, right? And these people want to help. Most of the time they want to help. They want to offer their advice. That's why they wrote the book in the first place, or they wrote the blog, or they did the podcast, right? They're trying to help people. And I always say for those people that reject your request, they're doing you a favor. Move on to the next one, because you don't want someone who doesn't really inherently care about you. You want somebody that's really going to help you. And I like that, building the tribe. And then the last thing I say to people is one of the most flattering things you can say to someone is, I would love your advice. And when you say that to someone, then they go, how can I help? Can I buy you a cup of coffee? I'd love your advice on something, or so, along those lines. And it just opens the door to so many people. That was great. The thing I kept thinking about in so many of my students is, and so many people, they're just so risk adverse, right? They're afraid to take that step. They're afraid to change their life or their routine or their habits or who they hang out with. What's your philosophy on risk taking, Noah?
Oh,
I mean, do you have a story behind this?
I mean, I'm living it. I'm living it right now. So there's an interesting, actually, let me ask you a question. What do you think about the word faith? Not in a religious context, just
Okay.
in just in general.
For me, the first word that comes to mind is conviction. Conviction in my mission of what I want to accomplish in life and how I want to serve so many people. I mean, that's sort of my long-winded answer.
I love that. It's so powerful because when you have the conviction, it doesn't matter what obstacles are going to show up because you're going to push through anyway.
Right.
And the craziest thing is that every obstacle you push through now creates this self-fulfilling prophecy of more conviction, more faith, more courage.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty in risk. Risk is so there was an experiment where there were some rats. These rats were given an opportunity to, there were two groups. One group was allowed to play fight, rough and tumble, roll around. And the other group was removed from that feeling of play. And they weren't allowed to play at all. They just had to kind of, hang out. What happened was the scientists would then introduce a cat or the smell of a cat. It wasn't a real cat. It was just the smell of a cat. And the rats who were play fighting all the time, who were taking risks and like getting out there and adventuring and like challenging themselves, what do you think they did?
Well,
they hid.
Yeah.
They hid. They're like, they smell the cat. They're like, oh, there's danger. Like, let me go hide from the danger. Yeah. The other rats, they would like not realize what was happening. And like, they would just kind of like there, and then they would hide. And then like, it was just really unnatural for them. They didn't know what to do in the face of danger. And that's kind of what we need to do as humans. We need to introduce the aspect of play. Risk is really about playing. Well, at the end of the day, we're putting ourselves out there, looking at obstacles as an opportunity to grow our skills, get stronger, and then every time we go through an obstacle, what happens? We get more conviction, we get more courage. Our ratio for survival goes up, just like with those rats that understand, hey, when real danger shows up, I go hide, and then I just come out and I'm good to go because I can avoid that. Yeah. And that's really the beauty. In when it comes to just taking risks in life. Sometimes you're going to have to gamble, and it's only through those gambles that we actually can make a dent in in just the fabric of our dreams. Like, you really need to roll the dice, and then every time you do that, you get stronger. Every time you bust through the comfort zone and you say, all right, let me drive to the edge of what I know possible. From there, I'm going to discover more and more strength. And then every time I do that, I'm just going to open up all kinds of new possibilities, whether that's new relationships, whether that's new business opportunities. And it's just, if you can introduce risk in your life in some form or fashion, whether that's, all right, I'm going to go talk to somebody new every day. I'm going to send a message to somebody I think is important every day. You don't have to be on the beach in Colombia to have risk. You can go and do this in your day-to-day life, whether that's, all right, I'm going to try to do 12 more push-ups than I did yesterday or something. There's so many ways in which you can gamify this process of risk taking. And through that, you develop more courage. Through that, you develop more confidence, and everything that you do starts to stack on top of itself.
It's just like a muscle, right? You're just building a muscle slowly, sort of your risk muscle. But let me ask you, in order to take risk, you have to really understand what you're taking risk for, right? Your vision and your mission and your goals. In one of your podcasts, you talk about goals, life-defining goals. Can you kind of elaborate that and how it pertains to risk?
Yes, I'd love to get in on that. So I heard this concept. I've been doing this for a while, and this is kind of how I got into painting. I was sitting on my ex-girlfriend's couch one day, And it was like right after New Year's. And I said, you know what I'm going to do this year? I'm going to learn how to paint and I'm going to hold an exhibit. I haven't painted before. I just said, okay, let's go. And so I spent a couple months figuring out how I would do it. But then I made it happen, and I realized I have a talent for it. I realized I enjoy it, and it brought me so many opportunities. And I would have never discovered that if I didn't set that as my big life defining goal that year. I said, okay, this year I'm going to do something that's a little outrageous. It's a little, it's out of the norm. And I've tried to have a year every single year. Like the last year I was like, okay, let me write and publish a book. So did that. And what happens now is that opens up so many doors. People are oh, you're a published author. It's a comic book. Whoa. And these are things that would never happen if I don't set the bar and I say, okay, let me shoot for the moon right now. Let's just make this year. What can I do this year that's going to be something life defining? Not just like I'm going to lose 10 pounds. Nobody fucking cares. Sorry if I don't know if I can cuss on here, but really it's just like right. Nobody really cares about like these little things. Like think outside the box. What can you do that's going to, when you look back 10 years from now, what is going to be a really cool story that you can like sit there and like sip a mojito from your porch and say, that was really cool. I'm glad I did that.
Oh man, there's just so much to say behind that. That is just, that is awesome. Setting these big goals to go after that you never thought was possible, but it's just taking that first step, right? And then just building on that. And then once you build that, then it just creates more opportunities, and then it just becomes viral, and suddenly it doesn't feel like you're taking risk anymore, right? It just becomes a natural flow of who you are. So speaking of that, what's the next big thing you're going after? Talk about your retreat.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, like here's the big gamble, right? I just quit my job officially. I've been building stuff on the side for the longest time, and it feels exciting. It's like really fulfilling to know that I'm going all in on this. And so I've cleared everything out for the next year. And the big life-changing goal this year is to host 3 retreats. The first one I've got is in Puerto Vallarta this March, and these are going to change lives. That's the way I look at them. And maybe they're going to be a hit, maybe they're not, but I'm going to do it anyway. And when you do something, that's when the momentum starts to kick in. That's when you're going to be connected with people. The universe is going to start to respond. I mean, just the other day, I'm looking at just the people that I've started conversations with because I've raised my flag and I said, this is what I'm doing. Now, the people that have responded and said, I love what you're doing. Count me in. I'm going to be there. It's just, now I'm so excited. I get to hang out on the beach, go ride some ATVs, do some snorkeling, have some like workshops, talk personal growth, talk money, talk business with really freaking cool people that I normally wouldn't be actually having this experience with. And so for me, it's about how do we tie in all 3 of those aspects we were talking about earlier: adventure, getting out of the comfort zone, asking bigger questions around what are we really doing with our life? The aspect of leverage, where now we're building a tribe of people who are also like on that frontier, being pioneers, discovering, different ways to expand their own personal leverage, whether that's building their businesses, whether that's creating media, and then tying all that together with this concept, with this big question of how can we be of service? How can we do good deeds for the world? And the energy that I'm expecting to come from this project, where we have a dozen like-minded individuals, all driven by purpose, coming together and being pampered, of course, like having a little bit of opportunity to sit in a nice porcelain jacuzzi with infinity pools and private chef. That's kind of my vision, right? Like, give yourself the space to think big, surround yourself with cool people, slow down, ask big questions. And that's the vision I'm creating for this year. It's all about how can I expand my impact through creating an environment that other people can come together in. And I can also now make friends with these cool people and get closer with them and have some cool memories.
Think of the doors that's going to open, not only for you, but for everybody. I mean, talk about leverage, as you mentioned. I mean, that just sounds amazing. Next question I had is, where do I sign up? I mean, you can't go wrong with Puerto Vallarta. I mean, I love that place, but that sounds wonderful. Can't wait to hear how that unfolds. And I just love how you're willing to just go step out of the box and tackle these big tasks. And it all boiled down. It all started with that sort of that tipping point in your life when you were young, and you realized that what you were doing then was never going to get you what you wanted in the future. And you just started with a really relatively a small goal, which is to take a walk, right? This journey. And from there, it's just like everything changed. So I think the message to a lot of people is, look, you don't have to go off and write a book right now, or, start an art exhibit, or this high-end retreat. Just start small. Start with something that's doable, that's achievable, and then build from there, and then set the next goal, right? Is that what you would recommend?
Yeah, I kind of like to use an analogy of carrying a big gold pan filled with rocks, and sometimes in life we're carrying a bunch of useless rocks around that aren't serving us any good. And why would we want to just walk through our journey in life holding this big tray of heavy stones that just don't do anything? We want to shake that pan up, get rid of these useless stones, so that we're left with the gold that is, that this is why we're living. And if we can just do that with our day-to-day, where it's being decisive and being slowing down to actually do the act of shaking that gold pan. And that might be taking some time to leave your phone at home so you can focus. That might be adding the things like meditation, better sleep, cutting out toxic friends, all of these things that none of us really spend enough time consciously editing these things in our life that are weights dragging us down from seeing the truth. And if we can one by one remove these things that are heavy burdens and just make space for the gold, life is going to be a lot easier, and you're going to be able to see things a little clearer. There's no need to rush because there's plenty of time. And that's something that I wish I could tell my younger self, right? Looking back at the last decade, slow down and just put one step in front of the other, focus on the moment. And with every action, just remember that if you're doing your due diligence in terms of pruning the habits, pruning the things like overspending, pruning the things like, I don't know, sitting down and watching 2 hours of Netflix, pruning the things like drinking in excess, remove those things from your life, and you start to have less weight. Remove like this ADHD dilemma of trying 100 different things and just focus on one thing. Just try your best to just stay present. And little by little, life gets easier. And you start making progress. You start adding strength instead of bad habits. Before you know it, you're just on the right track.
Yeah. You cut me off. You beat me to it. I was going to ask for the practical steps that you were going to recommend, but you just nailed it. I love it, especially the meditation, slowing down, removing those habits or removing those toxic people from your life. Anything else you wanted to add to the list that you already that you haven't?
Let's
mentioned?
see. Yeah. So the biggest thing that I've found to be helpful is to, for those of you who have read the Getting Things Done, I think really taking a conscious effort to build a process for capturing the minutia of life, whether that is having a to-do list that you write things down with, but you need to make love with your calendar. I think that's one of the biggest things that has had the biggest impact in me staying organized, being proactive in terms of, and being decisive in terms of which actions I'm going to be doing, is all the thoughts that come into our head. We need because our brain is not meant to store a bunch of things throughout the day. It's where a lot of anxiety comes from. I know that one of the things we talked about with our interview was money, and if we don't have a place in which to capture those, create a plan, they start to become burdens in our life. And so I would definitely recommend read Getting Things Done. And from there, I mean, I use a thing like my iPhone, and I just say, "Hey Siri, remind me to do this at this time." And what happens is it goes directly to my calendar. Boom, and it's there. I've got a little task on there. I do sync it with Fantastical. Oh, Siri's trying to talk to me right now. But yeah, so that's usually how one of the biggest things in terms of leverage of like impact, right? In terms of habits, making love with your calendar, having it be something that every single day you capture all the things that come to mind. And then at the end of the night, before you go to bed, look at all the things you've captured and then put them on the calendar. So everything now has something, has a place where you're going to see that, you're going to take action on it. And then when that time comes up, then you just do it. If something comes up and like you're not able to actually do the thing on the calendar, don't judge yourself. Just drag it to another day. And eventually what'll happen is you'll keep seeing that little thing pop up and you'll be like, okay, today I'm going to do this DMV paper. All right. Okay. Let me just get that done. But you don't have to carry the anxiety of, wait, what was that thing I have to do? Oh yeah. Oh, I'm supposed to send this thing to the DMV. Because once you write it down, you know it's going to get handled. And you know that you have the system that you can rely on where it's not relying on your brain. That would be probably the biggest leverage thing that you can do, the highest impact. Other things that would be really powerful, think about where you're spending the most time. And this is something I heard from Noah Kagan, which is like, all right, learn how to type faster. Learn how to, like, people have their mouse going super slow. Go to the thing and make your mouse move as a fastest speed. It's going to take like maybe like 3 hours and you're going to get used to it. But again, where are you spending the most of your time? And what can you do to actually speed that time up? So other things are like creating templates in your emails. Nobody really takes the time to actually think in the future and be like, wait, I'm going to write this email 80 times. What if I just write this and then I save it as a template or a signature, and I can just go through in the signatures and then select that, and oh wow, I've just sent my contract to somebody, and you don't have to retype it 100 times.
Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. Love it, Noah. We could keep going, man. I'll tell you, you've got a wealth of knowledge in you that needs to be released to the world as you're doing. I think it's just so awesome. We got to wrap there, but I can definitely see us doing a part 2, part 3 and on, if you don't mind, in the future, because you've got a lot to offer the world. And
thanks, brother.
I feel like you're only getting started despite everything that you've already accomplished. So that is tremendous. Any parting words for the audience? Last bits of, I mean, you've already given a ton of advice, but any parting words before we sign off? And then also we want to know, how do we reach you?
Yeah. If there's anything I can leave you with, it's this. Remember that your story starts now. If you think of life as a video game and you're the hero of this game, all the crap that you've gone through up until now, all the bad habits, all the bad things like your grandma said about you, all that stuff is just your backstory, the cutscene. And here you are. Every hero starts in the game with like the Nova set of equipment. You have your little rags and a wooden sword. But right now, this moment is the opportunity for you to go out there and do quests, improve, keep growing the skills, and don't let the past be where your fate is going. Let the past be that backstory. It's the cutscene. What matters now is what you're going to do with this wooden sword that you've got. How are you going to respond to the call? Who are you going to go ask to get a quest? Like this is the important part. And just remember that you are the hero and you're going to do incredible things. People shoot themselves short in terms of what they're capable of so many times, and it breaks my heart. So if you can just today walk out and know that whatever happens in the day, you're starting as a hero today. And every day you just repeat the same thing. Today is the day that I'm a hero in this story. Yeah. What can I do? I mean, yeah, that's what I'd like to leave you guys with. To connect with me, follow Noah across all the social stuff. Instagram is mainly what I use, but yeah, you can hit me up there. And then The Big Possible. That's where everything's going right now. So thebigpossible.com. You can find out about the retreats as well. Just go to the page. There's a button right at the top with the cool video playing, talking about the retreat. Just click the button. You can jump on a call with me. We'll talk about whether it's a fit for you or not. And of course, you can just email me anytime, noah@thebigpossible.com.
Cool. Thank you so much, Noah. Awesome. I mean, this is not only just full of information, but it's absolutely inspirational. I mean, you're getting my batteries charged. Seriously, I really mean that. It's just awesome. I'm so glad we connected. My last question is, where's your next adventure? Where are you off to next from Colombia? Or have you decided?
Yeah, so I'll be. I've got a couple days here at the beach, and then I'm back to Medellin to do some friends' birthday stuff out there, and then Ecuador. So I'll be in Ecuador for a month. So.
Wow. Well, one of these days I'd love to run into you on one of your adventures, and let's put our heads together and chat. I would just love that. So thank
Absolutely.
you so much. And I'll just end with this, as I say often, is that, people have the greatest power people possess is the power to choose, I think. And there's a lot that we talked about today. And people's life or their financial future isn't a matter of chance. It's a matter of choice. And it's something for you to go out and get, not sit back and wait for. That will never, never happen. So with that, Noah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All the best for an amazing future. Let's stay in touch. Let's do this again. And we'll see you again. Take care.
All right.
All right. Upward and onward.